हरिः ओं सर्वगुरुभ्यो नमः। कृणश्वभाज प्रथितिन्न पृथ्वीं याहि राजे वामवाघं विभेन सृष्टीमनुप्रसितिं द्रोणानो अस्तास्ति विद्यरक्षसस्तपिष्टैः तव भ्रमासा आशुया पतन्त्यनुस्पृशदृशता शोषुचानः तपोग्यश्यग्ने जुह्वापतङ्गानसंदितो विसृतविश्वगुल्काः अर्चामि ते सुमतिं गोशर्वाक्सं ते वाता जरतामियङ्गीः अश्वा आस्त्वा सुरतामर्जयेमास्मे क्षत्राणि धारयेरनुद्यून् अयाते अग्ने समिधा विधेम प्रतिस्तोमगं धस्यमानं गृभाय अहाससो रक्षसः पाह्यस्मां द्रुहो निदो मित्रमहो अवद्यात्। Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. This is a section from the Rigveda called the Rakshogana. This is killing all the negative forces. This is just a small part of that whole series of mantras in that. Is also part of the Bodhayana Udaka Shanti used in that. न्यस्तात्मीयवरं वरप्रदगुरौ वैराग्यभाग्यो ददौ वेदान्तामृतसारवन्तमनघा श्रीश्रीनिवासाद् गुरोः श्रीशैलान्मयकौस्तुभस्य तनयं श्रेयो निधे श्रीनिधेः वन्दे साधुकटाक्षकेलिनिलयं श्रीकृष्णशब्देशिकम् गीतासु गीताकर्तव्या किमन्यैः शास्त्रविस्तरैः या स्वयं पद्मनाभस्य मुखपद्मात् विनिसृता मलनिर्मोचनं पुंसां जलस्नानं दिने दिने तक्रद्गीताम्बसिस्नानं संसारमलनाशनं सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्. We are stopped here yesterday. Anishtamishtam mishrancha trividham karmana phalam bhavatya tyaginam pretya natu sannyasina kachit. So any action we do, this is there are three kinds of outcome. It could be anishta, nishta, or mishra, good, bad, or a mixture of both. But for the person who has there is no such baggage for someone who is unattached to the fruits of action. In fact, these things will follow even upon their death. This is kind of this kind of outcome. Okay. So, but basically means that whatever baggage we get in this, it is also carried away like a vasanas, something which was not fulfilled. The work did not work well, that kind of things, but we had done it with a desire for the outcome. In that situation, if the outcome was bad, if it was failure, then that kind of carried along to the next life also for the people who did that with attachment. But it has no binding on people who act without any attachment for the results. So that's where we stopped yesterday. So now we see. Because he said that any outcome can be good, bad, or mixed. So what determines the outcome of actions is discussed in the next 2-3 verses. Panchaitani mahabaho karanani nibodame sankye kritante proktani siddhaye sarva karmana. So he says that there are things, Mahabaho is Arjuna, there are 5 things that determine, as described in Sankhya, which determine the outcome of action, success or failure. Siddhaye sarva karmana. So there are Panchaitani, 5 things determine, they are the karanas, as taught in the Sankhya. So the scriptures, basically the scriptures proclaim that 5 factors govern the outcome of all actions. So that's what we are going to know. What are those 5 factors? Panchaitani mahabaho.
Panchetani Mahabaho
Karanani nibodame.
Karanani Nibodame
Sankhye kritante proktani.
Sankhye Kritante Proktani
Siddhaye Sarvakarmano.
Siddhe Sarva Karmanam.
Yeah. In this context, we can also remember the verse in the second chapter, right? Karmanyaivaadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. He had told that there. It means we have control only on our action, but we have no control on the outcome. So that here kind of it is again kind of repeated that idea that the outcome can be good, bad, or mixed. But what determines the outcome was never told in chapter 2. It was left open. So that's he's going to discuss here now. So the 5 things he will tell now is adhishthanam tatha karta karanancha prithagvidam vividhascha prithak cheshtaha daivan chaivatra panchamam. So the first one is adhishthanam. Adhishthanam is station or situation, context or timing of action. That is one factor. Karta. Karta is the person, the individual performing the action. Then karanancha prithagvidam. Karanam are all the tools of different kinds of resources. It could be knowledge and what all the tools available for the karta to perform the action. That's the third thing. The fourth one is vividhascha prithak cheshtaha. All the tools and resources, how well they're used, how well they're employed. Like you may have 100 pencils, and when you want to write, a lot of times children say they cannot find a pencil to write, or things like that. So how the tools are used, you may have all the resources, knowledge, how they are used. That is the fourth thing. Then the fifth one is Daivam, Chaiva, Cha Eva Atra Panchamam. The fifth one is Daivam. Daivam means unknown. It is not like God deciding the outcome. It's unknown and unknowable. It is just like in an insurance policy, they say that we will not cover acts of God, like earthquake and tsunami, some kind of foundation movement, that kind of things are not covered. They are all considered as acts of God, but nobody knows. So no insurance people are going to put their commitment on that. So these are the 5 things: the timing of action or the context, person performing the action, all the resources available at the disposal of the person doing the action, and how he or she employs those things. Then finally, unknown factors. It could be, we can say, it could be fate, luck, or some kind of a past prarabdha karma of a past life giving it, bearing its effect on this life. It is unknown and unknowable. So adhishtanam tatha karta
Adhisthanam Tatha Karta
karanancha prithagvidam
Karanam Che Prathak Vidham
vividhascha prithak cheshtaha
Vividhaksha Prathak Chesta
daivam chaivatra panchamam.
Devam Chevatra Panchamam.
So the 5 things he said in the previous verse, I will tell you. So the situation, the individual, the tools one has, how the tools are used, and unknown forces. So these are the 5 things that determine the outcome of actions. This is one of the verses we have looked at maybe 50, 60 different translations. They make no sense. Absolutely. Only 2 we found which made sense. That's what we adopted. One of them is attributed to Satya Sai Baba on the internet. So there is no, I don't think it's a published book, but it's dedicated to Satya Sai Baba. The other one that is in English, the other one is in Kannada by Dr. D.V. Gundappa in his Jivana Dharma Yoga Bhagavad Gita translation. He actually discusses all the different things people have, how they have translated these words. And he says, somehow it doesn't make any sense to me. And he goes in a very roundabout way. Of course, this is in Kannada. Now it has been translated to English, that work. And in roundabout, he says, I think this is the right translation, he says. So we thought that when we read those things, it made perfect sense for it. That's why we adopted. Okay. Now, he says that one, this is also very interesting. Sharira vangmano bhiryate karma prarabhate naraha nyayam va viparitam va panchaite tasya hetavaha. He says that whenever one does with his body, anything that means acting, physically acting, doing, performing the action with his body, speech, or mind, it doesn't matter. Whatever one does with his body, speech, mind, with good or bad intention. So when we talk about the action, it could be just giving a speech too. You want to be a very successful speaker, maybe nobody likes that speech at the end. I mean, we don't know. So it includes all those things. Action includes not just physical work, not bodily work. It's also speech. It also mental work, all of those things. Done with nyayam va viparitam va, whether with a good or bad intention, doesn't matter. Panchaite tasya hetavaha. Still only the same five things, five factors. There is nothing like what you are doing with a good intention. There is something better, some better preference you get, or some kind of a brownie point you get for the outcome. No, it doesn't matter. The same five factors, irrespective of the intention of your action. Even if it was for a bad thing or a good thing, doesn't matter. A lot of time we hear the statement, if you do good, God is behind you. But here, according to Krishna, these two verses, that's not true. So the same five factors determine the outcome. For example, when we had the 9/11, that's probably the very bad thing that happened in our lifetime. And so when the 9/11, there was at the end of the day, in the local our own community, there were a lot of interfaith people sitting and discussing, representatives from different religions. So why did this bad thing happen? How does God let this happen? How that was a successful bad activity, right? They outperformed what um, Bin Laden had thought. It never thought it will bring down two buildings like that. Like that. They were all asking. But actually, if you look at this Gita verses, it doesn't matter. Even a bad intention, it can be very successful. So, Sharira Vangmano Viryate,
शरीरवान् मनोभिर्यते
Karma Prarabhate Naraha,
कर्म प्रभावते नरः
Nyayam Va Viparitam Va,
न्यायं वा विपरीतं वा
Panchaite Tasya Hetavaha.
पञ्चेतस्य हेतवः.
It's a Hetava. So doesn't matter. Like even in that case, right, there were four jets. Two of them outperformed. One of them just did what he wanted. I think it knocked down one wall on Pentagon building. Another one was brought down by people. It did not do anything. Of course, it killed few people, but it did not damage any building. So that was not reached. Uh, I just wanted to go back to this verse, how the unknown factors impact. In our own lifetime, we saw this happen. 1982, 83, I interviewed with Monsanto Company in St. Louis. At that time, they were just getting into agriculture biotechnology, ag biotechnology. They wanted to make genetically modified seeds and things like that, GMO seeds. And when I interviewed, and it was not an official interview. I just met in the informal interview. The director said, "We are just Monsanto was a chemical company. It was not a biotechnology or ag biotechnology company. We are just stepping into this new area. We are just going to play with it and see what happens." Because the agricultural biotechnology was very nascent at the stage. It was not at all a very defined field. He said that we are not expecting any product, any modified seed, genetically modified seed, even like maybe in 2010 or something like that. This was in 1982. We are not expecting anything for 20, 30 years. We are just be going to do a lot of groundwork, they said. So that was the state of field in 1982-83. But what happened was lots of progress happened in other labs, in the academic labs, and so they could immediately adopt those things. And by 1990 itself, they had a genetically modified seed. So they got it in 8 years instead of 20 or 25 years. Of course, that was unknown. That is Daivam Chaivatra Panchamam. Nobody could predict that. Nobody had a crystal ball. But that also got them into trouble because the world was not prepared for it. World was kind of, oh, GMO, it is bad, and this and that, like that. A lot of bad publicity, especially in Europe and different places. Um, so basically, they succeeded very quickly and also has some problem. Really, actually, company faced a lot of trouble. Kind of, it was like a perform and perish kind of thing. It's all unknown. So, okay, so okay, then let's go. Tatraivam sachikartaram atmanam kevalantu yaha pashyat jagrata buddhitvan nasa pashyati durmatihi. So the person, this being the case, so many factors are determining in the outcome. It's not just us doing. So in that case, when one sees himself as the sole cause, oh, I did, I am the one responsible for that, such a person is actually of limited understanding. Right? He fails to see the truth because there are so many underlying factors for outcome of anything. Of course, the person performing is important, but it's not the only thing. Right? So person who understands that realizes that. Tatraivam satikartaram
तत्तेवं सति कर्तारम्
atmanam kevalantu yaha
आत्मनां केवलं तु यः
pashyat jakrita buddhitvan
पश्यत् अकृतबुद्धित्मान्
nasa pashyati durmatihi.
न श पश्यते दुर्मति.
Yeah. In other words, the wise person understands that, but Durmati, one who is not, who is otherwise, thinks that only he is responsible. He fails to see the underlying factors. So that being the case, when one sees himself as the sole cause, he is truly of limited understanding. He fails to see the truth. यस्य नाहं कृतो भावो बुद्धिर्यस्य न लिप्यते हत्वापि स इमान् लोकान् न हन्ति न निबध्यते. This is kind of a very powerful words. The one who is free from ego, naham krito bhavo, na aham krito bhavo. He doesn't have that one without that ego, one who has that, and buddhir yasya nalipyate, he has complete understanding. Even if he kills, he does not kill. He is not bound. One who understands all the underlying factors. In other words, one who is free from ego has complete understanding. By definition, leads a noble life as prescribed by earlier verses, how a sattvic person, how he leads the life. And we heard that in chapter 12 and chapter 13, how that person who understands behaves. If he kills any being, then it will be because the action was appropriate and not out of hatred, right? Or anger or impulse. Such a person is not bound because neither action nor outcome affect him. So something he had to do, he had to go and fight a war. It was a ordained duty, and it doesn't matter, even if he doesn't feel tainted by engaging in killing someone in a war, things like that, right? Because Arjuna had that issue, right? How to kill his own relatives and friends and elders like that. So one who doesn't have that ego, but he has to do the job, it's a duty, then he's not tainted by that. So he's na badhyate, nahanti, nani badhyate. He's not, even if he kills the Iman Lokan, even if he kills, he's not bound by it. यस्य नाहं कृतो भावो
यस्य नः कृतं भावो
बुद्धिर्यस्य न लिप्यते
बुद्धिर्यस्य न लिप्यते
हत्वापि स इमान् लोकान्
हत्वापि स इमान् लोकान्
न हन्ति न निबध्यते
न हन्ति न निबध्यन्ते
न निबध्यते. So
निबध्यते
there's an anecdote, Japanese samurai story mentioned here. Uh, his boss, samurai is his boss. He was insulted by someone for some reason. So he had asked that person, particular person, he has asked his assistant, subordinate, to kill that person because to avenge something bad he had done for him. But this person's job was only to kill because for his boss. That's all. He doesn't have anything against that person. Only to fulfill his responsibility, respecting his boss' word, he has to kill that another samurai. So he goes after them to kill him. But what happens is just before he is able to chop his neck off, that fellow's with full mouth of saliva spits on him. So he got very mad at him. At this time, he was not mad. All the time was only trying to fulfill his master's job of killing that person. He had nothing against that person. But before he was at the time of about to kill, because he spat on him, he got mad at him. He could have killed him, he walked away. No, I am not going to kill now. Because if I kill him now, that is because of my anger. Because even though he had gone after to kill him to fulfill his master's words, uh, but because at that moment, if he killed him, because he got very mad when somebody spits at you, you feel very mad immediately. So he did not. I will kill you some other day, he said, and walked away from it. So probably he had read this sloka, I think. Nanang neyam parignata trivida karma chodana karanang karma karteti trivida karma sangraha. So this is what inspires an action talks about. The factors that inspires the action are the knowable, the knowledge, and the knower. So action comprises of the individual, the tools, and the act. So what inspires the action or something, it can be knowable, it also is knowledge and the knower, one who is performing it. But the action itself involves the individual, the tools, and the act itself. Nanang neyam parignata
ज्ञानं नेयं परिज्ञाता
trivida karma chodana.
त्रिविधा कर्म चोदना
Yeah, those three things are inspire action. Nanam neyam parignata. Then karanam karma karteti.
कर्णं कर्म कर्तेति
Trivida karma sangraha. That is the
त्रिविधं कर्म संज्ञा
Yeah, that is the basically that comprise the action. Nanang karma cha karta cha tridhaiva gunabhedatah prechyate gunasankhyaane yatavat sunutanyapi. Again, he's coming back to how we have the three things, right? The sattva, raja, tamas people, how they act. Here also there are three ways. The knowledge, action, and individual are also of three types, in accordance with the three gunas, sattva and raja gunas, raja and tamas guna, tamo guna. This is explained in the principle of the gunas. So he's going to explain that. Even the three things he said, knowledge, action, and individual, are also dependent or on the associated guna. He's going to explain those things. Nanang karma cha karta cha
ज्ञानं कर्म च कर्ता च
tridhaiva gunabhedatah
त्रिधैव गुणभेदता
prochyate gunasankhyaane.
प्रोच्यते गुणसंख्यानि
Guna Sankhya is the principle of guna, what explained, the guna sankhya. Yatavat sunutanyapi.
यथा पश्रु Tanyapi.
Yeah, listen to them, he says. So, Sarva Bhuteshu Yenaikam Vava Mikshate Avibhaktam Vibhakteshu Tatnanam Vidhi Satvikam. So the knowledge that helps to see oneness, to see this, see the one, to see the soul imperishable, right? The knowledge that helps one to see the imperishable soul reality. There is soul in every being. There is that commonness, oneness in every being. To understand that reality in all beings, undivided in the divided. Although we each of us are different people, that one thing is, it looks like it is divided in many. That knowledge is the nature of sattva. In other words, able to see the oneness in everyone. Even though we all look different, we all have the same, that one soul in us. So understanding that is that kind of knowledge. Tat gnanam with the sattvika. Know that as the sattvika gnana, the knowledge of sattva. Sarva bhuteshu enaikam
Sarvabhuteshu yena ekam
bhavamavyayam ikshate
bhavamavyam vivikshate
avibhaktam vibhakteshu
avivyaktam vivekteshu
tagdanam vidhi sattvikam.
tatjnanam vidhi
Yeah, the
satvikam.
underlying commonness of beings. The next one is Prithaktvena tu yajnanam nanabhavan prithakvidan vetti sarveshu bhuteshu tadnanam viddhi rajasam. Exactly opposite. The knowledge that makes one to see only division everywhere. They don't see the unity of life. Oneness they don't see. Only sees division everywhere. And to perceive each individual as different from all others. Not able to see the commonality. That knowledge is of the nature of rajas. Prithaktvena tu yajnanam
Prathakvetu yat jnanam
nanabhavan prithakvidan
nana bhavan prathak vidyan
vetti sarveshu bhuteshu
vetti sarveshu bhuteshu
tajnanam viddhi rajasam.
tajnanam vidhi rajasvam.
When they write like this, he actually yat gnanam, here tat gnanam. So prithakvena tu yat gnanam, tat gnanam, like that. But it combined like that compound word. So now what is Thomasati? Yet यत्तु कृष्णवदेकस्मिन् यत्तु कृष्णवदेकस्मिन् कार्ये सक्तमहैतुकम् अतत्वार्थवदल्पञ्च तत्तामसमुदाहृतम्. Here the knowledge that drives to cling onto insignificant things, insignificant pursuit, as though it were the only important thing, without any reason or rhyme, and without foundation in the truth. That knowledge is at the nature of tamas. Basically, the gnanam with as if everything was um, something insignificant. That is knowledge that drives one to cling on to an insignificant pursuit as though that is the most important thing. Doing something which is not important, giving it the most importance as though that is the most important thing. Lot of time we tend to do this, right? When we want to do something, we want to do something else before that. That may not be that important at all. But the Thomasic kind of knowledge is giving what is not important as the most important thing, as the that is to be done kind of thing. So that kind of pursuit, which is not based on any foundation or reason, it is not logical, but somehow feels that that is the important thing to be done. That kind of knowledge is Thomasic knowledge. Yattu Krishna Vade Kasmin
यत् तु कृष्णवद् एकस्मिन्
Karye Saktama Haitukam
कार्ये सक्तं हेतुकम्
Attatvartha Vadalpancha.
अतत्वात् वदलं च
Yeah, kind of alpam is trivial, trivial action. Which then Tattvartha means no purpose and trivial, that kind of Tattama Samudahritam.
tasmam
Yeah.
uddhartam.
Tattama samudahritam.
Tattva uddhartam.
Niyatam sangarahitam aragadveshatakritam apala prepsuna karma ettat satvika muchyate. Here this is action performed as niyatam, which was a performed, and sangarahitam, without performed as prescribed, free from attachment. Aragadveshataha kritam. There is no attachment, anuraga for that. And without obsession or aversion. Apala prepsuna karma. Um, that kind of, with, by one who is not affected by the outcome, is not a apala prepsuna karma, not impacted by the fruit of action. That kind of uh, that is the nature of sattva. Sattvic person is like that. That is action, doing the action which has to be performed as prescribed, free from attachment, and then without obsession. If it did not work, or aversion, not indifferent to that, uh, not affected by that, that kind of outcome is of the. This is for the outcome of action. Is of the sattva nature. Niyatam sangarahitam
Netam sangrahitam
araga dveshatakritam
aragadvesham kritam
apala prepsuna karma
afal prepsuna karma
yattat satvika muchyate.
yat tat satvikam uchyate.
Yeah, this is a person, one who does this, which thinks it has to be done. He has no attachment, and then does it diligently. So, no, we're not doing it like in an indifferent way, but not being impacted by the outcome. That is the kind of action. That is the nature of sattva. That kind of action. Yattu kamepsuna karma साहंकारेण वा पुनः क्रियते बहुलायासं तद्राज samudahritam. Exactly opposite of that here. It is performed merely for selfish reasons. Kamapsuna karma. Then sahankarena, with the thought, with the ego, I am doing it. Sahankarena va punaha. So doing that, kriyate bahulayasam, with lot of excitement in that. That is the nature of rajas. Yattu kama, yattu kama, yattu kamepsuna karma,
Yat tu kamesh kamesh puna karma
sahankarena va punaha,
sahankare va punah
kriyate bahulayasam,
kriyate bahulayasham
tadraja samudahritam.
tat rajasam
Typically,
uddhratam.
Rajasic person is always very vigorous, doing with undue excitement and with lot of ego that I am the one doing and interested in the outcome. Then this is the action of the tamasic person. Anubandham kshayam himsam anapekshacha paurusham mohadarabhyate karma ettat tamasam uchyate. Here it is undertaken blindly. Anubandham kshayam himsat. It is a kind of not interested in what is not paying any attention to the consequence, doing it blindly, doing that action undertaken blindly with really no purpose, not considering one's own ability. He doesn't even know, at least a Rajasic person knows that I am doing that kind of, he has that ability. Here, taking action without doing it blindly, not considering one's ability, whether he can do it or not, and also without regard for the consequences. Is it going to be, if it works out, is it going to be, maybe it's a very bad action. It now has no attention, paying attention to the outcome, whether it's good or bad. It may be actually a very dangerous action and leading to law. It may be causing injury to himself or to others or to the or to the world itself, that kind of action is tamasic action. Anubandham kshayam himsam,
अनुबंधम क्षयम हिंसाम
anapeksha cha paurusham,
अनपेक्ष्य च पौरुषम
mohad arabhyate karma,
मोहाद आरभ्यते कर्म
done out of delusion, moha, yattat tamasam uchyate.
यत्तत् तामसम उच्यते.
That is the kind of injury he could be to himself or to others, that kind of thing. मुक्तसङ्गोहनं वादे धृत्युत्साहसमन्वितः सिद्ध्यसिद्ध्यो निर्विकारः कर्ता सात्विक उच्यते. This is the individual who is without any attachment. This is a sattvic person, Mukta Sangohanam Vadi, endowed with firmness and enthusiasm. Dhriti, this person has utsaham, is doing, is endowed with firmness and enthusiasm, unperturbed by success. Siddhya Siddhyo Nirvikara is not unperturbed by success or failure of the action, and never indulging in self-praise. That kind of that is the nature of the person of sattva. One who indulges action with that kind is a sattvic person, or if one with a nature of sattva is like that. So individual who is without any attachment, mukta sangha, endowed with firmness and enthusiasm, unperturbed by success or failure, and never indulging in self-praise. Karta, that kind of, that is of the nature of person of sattva. Mukta sango hanam vadi,
मुक्त संको अहमवादी
धृत्युत्साहस manvitaha,
धृत्य उत्साह संविता
साहस manvitaha,
साहस संविता
सिद्ध्य सिद्ध्योर निर्विकारः,
सिद्ध्य सिद्ध्योर निविकार
कर्ता सात्विक उच्यते.
कर्ता सात्विक उच्यते.
This is for the Rajasic person. Ragi karma pala prepsuhu, lubdo himsatmako shuchihi, harsha shokan vitat karta, rajasa parikirtita. Here he is passionate. Ragi is obsessed with the act of karma pala. He is obsessed with it uh, to get the outcome of the action. Ragi karma pala presu, desirous of fruits of the action he is indulging in. And he is greedy. Lubda, himsatmaka, he's aggressive, violated, and bent on hurting, he doesn't care. And ashuchihi, he's impure, he's corrupted. Then he's filled with joy and sorrow. Harsha shokan vitaha, because depending on filled with joy and sorrow, if it works, he'll be very happy. If it doesn't work, he'll be very unhappy. That kind of activity it comes of the person who belongs, which has a rajasic nature, right? So the individual who is impure, greedy, aggressive, excessively passionate, and decides for the rewards of his action and is easily affected by their outcomes. That is the person of the nature of rajas. Ragi karma pala prepsuhu,
रागी कर्म फल प्रेप्सुर
lubda himsatmako shuchihi,
लुब्धो हिंसात्मो शुचि
हिंसात्मका अशुचि अनात्मिको शुचिः हर्षशोकान्वितः कर्ता
हर्ष शोकान्विता कर्ता
राजस परिकीर्तितः.
राजस परिकीर्तिता.
Now about the tamasic person. अयुक्त प्राकृत स्तब्धः शठो नैकृति कोलसः विषादी दीर्घसूत्री च कर्ता तामस उच्यते. Here he is indisciplined, ayuktaha, and he is also uncultured, prakritaha, uncultured, crude, and indisciplined. Stabda is stubborn. is stubborn person or deceitful. Shata is wicked, and Naikakriti is dishonest. And also he is alasa. Alasaha is lethargic person, lazy. So all these negative things. Also Vishadi, he is depressed, he is desperate. And Dirga Sutri is one who takes a long time, procrastination, postponing. I'll do it later, today, it's like that, postponing person. That kind of uh, action taken is by the people of Thomasic nature. So the individual who is lazy, fickle, wicked, crude, dishonest, depressed, stubborn, and forever postponing the work is of the nature of tamas. Ayukta prakrita stabdaha,
अयुक्त प्राकृत स्तब्ध
stabdaha,
स्तब्ध
shato naikriti kolasaha,
शठो नैकृतिस् नैकृतोष्ला
naikriti kolasaha,
नैकृति कोलसः
vishadi dirgha sutri cha,
विषादी दीर्घसूत्री च
karta tamasa uchyate.
कर्ता तामस उच्यते.
Now he talks about the differences in the intellect between depending on sattva, rajas, and tamas. Buddher bedam dritaischaiva gunatas tribidham shudu procyamana masheshena prithaktvena dhananjaya. He says that, let me now describe to you the three kinds of distinction that prevail in the intellect. Buddher bedam, the intellect, and resolve, buddhi and drita, both in the intellect and the resolve with which a person acts, is also governed by the gunas, three gunas. So Arjuna, let me now describe the three kinds of distinctions that prevail in the intellect and resolve and determination of action as governed by the three gunas. Buddher bedam triteschaiva
बुद्धिर्भेदं तृतीयेक्षैवं
gunatas trividham shrunu
गुणतस्त्रिविधं शृणु.
प्रोच्यमानमशेषेण
प्रोच्यमानम् अशेषेण
पृथक्त्वेन धनञ्जय.
पृथक्त्वेन धनञ्जय.
प्रवृत्तिञ्च निवृत्तिञ्च कार्याकार्ये भयाभये बन्धं मोक्षञ्च या वेत्ति बुद्धिः सा partha sattviki. So this person, the one whose intellect knows when to act and when not to. Pravritti is act, nivritti not to act. His intellect lets that person to know when one should act and when who should not act. He knows that one. And what to do. Karya, akarye, bhayave. What is karya? What should be done and what should not be done. That and what to fear. Bhaya bhaye. What you should fear, what you should not fear. So it knows the difference between prakriti, nivritti, karya, akarya, bhaya and abhaya. Then also bandham and moksham, what is binding and what is liberating, and what is bondage and what is liberation. One who understands those things, that is the intellect of a person of the nature of sattva. Pravrittincha nivrittincha
प्रवृत्तिञ्च निवर्तिञ्च
karya karye bhaya bhaye
कार्ये अकार्ये भयाभये
bandham mokshancha ya vetti
बन्धं मोक्षं च य वेत्ति
buddhissa partha sattviki.
बुद्धिर्सा पार्थ सात्विकी.
Now about the rajasic buddhi. Yaya dharma madharmancha karyancha karyamevacha atava ayatavat prajanati buddhissa partha rajasi. So here that intellect which has a wrong notion of what is right and what is wrong. Difference between what is right, dharmam and adharma, and what to do and what to abandon. So, karya cha akarya. What is the dharma and adharma? Akarya, what should be done and what should not be done, and what to abandon. That is at the nature of rajas. So, the intellect that has a wrong notion of the difference between what is right and what is not right or what is wrong, and what to do and what to abandon. That is at the nature of rajas. Yaya dharma madharmancha
यया धर्म अधर्म इच्छा
karyancha karyamevacha
कार्यञ्च अकार्यं च
ayatavat prajanati.
यथावत् प्रजानाति.
And that's a wrong understanding of that. Buddhissa partha rajasi.
बुद्धिर्सा पार्थ राजसी.
So in other words, there's wrong understanding of dharma and adharma and karya and akarya. That is the rajasic mind. Now about tamasic. Adharmam dharmamitiya manyate tamasavrita sarvarthan viparitanscha buddhissa partha tamasi. Here the kind of intellect which is involved is so deluded, it thinks wrong as right. The intellect that is engulfed in darkness imagines wrong as the right. Adharmam dharmam iti. What it thinks adharmam as dharmam iti. Thinks that is the right. Manyate, things like that. Tamasic person. And sarvarthan viparitanscha. Thinks all things contrary to what truly are. That is at the nature of tamas. Always, anything told, it always looks at it a wrong angle. I think you can say opposition party is always acting like that, right? Whatever the ruling party says, the opposition party looks at it takes it only in a wrong angle. That is purposely they do that, right? So that is actually tamasic buddhi. Adharmam dharmamitiya
अधर्म धर्मिति या
anyate tamasavrita
मन्यते तमसावृतः
sarvarthan viparitanscha
सर्वार्थान् विपरीतां च
buddhissa partha tamasi.
बुद्धि सा पार्थ तामसी.
Can do maybe 2 or 3 more slokas. This is about dhriti, about the determination, the resolve in action. Dhrityayaya dharayete mana pranendriya kriyaha yogena avyabhicharinya dhritissa partha sattviki. This is the serenity with which one unites the prana and the senses and the mind by pursuing the path of yoga. This is the uh, this is the kind of in the path of yoga that resolve is at the nature of sattva. So this is basically the serenity with which this person unites the prana, the senses, and the mind. In other words, he is united all these things in a yoga. He's a yogi. That resolves is of the nature of sattva. Prana is the vital force, that is the breath of an organism. That is the life energy, right? It can also be called the vital breath. For without breathing, how can we get energy, right? So the serenity with which one unites the prana, the senses, and the mind by pursuing the path of yoga. So he's kind of a yogi. And that resolve is the nature of sattva. Trityayaya dharayate.
यया धारते
In other words, is in harmony. Mana pranendriya kriyaha.
मनः प्राण इंद्रिया क्रिया.
So it's by his mind and vital breath, they're all in the senses, indriya, mana, prana, and indriya. They're all in uh, united. Okay. Yogena avyabhicharinya
योगेन अभिव्यचारिणा
Pritissa Partha Satviki.
धृतिसा पार्थ सात्विकी.
Avyabhichari is not wavering, fixed in those things. Okay. Now this is for Rajas. Yayatu dharma kamartan dritya dharayate arjuna prasangena palakankshi dritissa partha rajasi. Here he hangs, this person is a rajasic person. His tenacity is with which he vehemently hangs on to the uh, pursuits of dharma, artha, and kama out of selfish desire. So he has all these things he wants to accomplish for selfishness, for the fruits of action, because he is attached to the action. Pala kankshi he is. That kind of resolve is nature of rajas. Actually, rajasic people are uh, highly determined to succeed. They want to gain things, they want to acquire things, they want to be successful. So the tenacity with which they vehemently hangs on to the pursuits of dharma, artha, kama, those are the among the purusharthas, out of selfish desire for the fruits of action, that resolve is of the rajas. Yayatu dharma kamarthan
यया तु धर्म कामार्थं
धृत्या धारयते अर्जुन
धृत्याधार्यते अर्जुन
प्रसंगेन फलाकांक्षी
प्रसन्ने फलाकांक्षी
धृतिस्सा पार्थराजसी.
धृतिसा पार्थ राजसी.
We'll just do one more and I will stop after that. This is for the tamasic person. Yaya swapnam bayam shokam vishadam madamevacha navimunchati durmedha dritissa partha tamasi. Here this person reject is foolishly and very rigidly. He has the driti. With what? He is preoccupied with sleep, fear, vishadam, fear, bayam, shokam, fear. He is preoccupied with fear. Shokam is grief. Vishadam is despair. And madam, arrogance. And that resolve is at the nature of tamas. The rigidity with which one is foolishly preoccupied with sleep, that means lethargy, fear, grief, despair, and arrogance. That resolve is at the nature of tamas. Yaya swapnam bayam shokam
यया स्वप्नं भयं शोकं
vishadam adamevacha
विषादं मदमेव च
navimunchati durmedha
नाभिमुच्यति दुर्मेधा
tritissa partha tamasi.
दितिसा पार्थ तामसी.
He's stupid. That durmedha means a stupid person. Not meda is opposite of that. Durmedha. So we'll stop here. I think Hari is there today. I think maybe he can make some comments.
Namaste. There's one observation regarding a lot of the verses of the 18th chapter and few other sections of the Gita. Dr. Sri Krishna and me have discussed this many times. Lot of these verses are observations of human nature. So if you see what the shlokas that he discussed today, starting from the 5 factors that determine the outcome of any action, and the unknown forces, the nature of sattva, rajas, and tamas in various aspects of our life. All these are observations of human nature, and they are not related to any belief or ideology or religion or any of these things. This is true for everyone at all times. As long as the human species is there, this will hold good. So I think this kind of universal message in Gita is what makes it very relevant to all people. Otherwise, often we see, some of the scriptures of the other, especially the Western religions, they are outdated beyond a point. So the time when they were composed, 1,400 years ago, or 2,000 years ago, or 4,000 years ago, they were relevant at that point of time. But today they have lost much of the value because we have moved on in science and technology and understanding of the world. But when it comes to Gita, when it comes to Vedanta, it is ever relevant because it is talking about some universal principles. So I think that was very nicely brought out in these shlokas today.
It's deep psychology, basically. Okay.
Yeah.
A psychiatric friend of mine told that this is the first psychology book. It's Vedanta. Gita is the essence of all those things. He said these are the first psychology books. These were
There's a famous quotation by Osho. He said the first psychological scripture long before Freud, Adler, and Jung. I think this we had also included in our complete Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, because this is nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with faith in anything. As you rightly said, it's just a human nature, universal human nature, basically, which is transcends any kind of religion or faith or belief in even God. It is universal for all. It is not.
And because of this universal nature of the text, I feel that Krishna has got the guts to say, Vimrishaita asheshena yathechasi tathakuru.
Yeah.
Because he knows that anybody who does this, who understand this, will agree with what he's saying. Like there is no need for somebody to fight too much to prove that water is made up of two molecules of hydrogen and one of oxygen. Anybody who experiments independently will realize it. So
Yeah.
as a person who knows this truth will be very confident of it. Scientists will say, please check it for yourself, don't take me at prima facie, just you try it out. The same thing Krishna is able to say almost like a scientist in verse whatever 63 or something, because he has the confidence that these are universal values.
Yeah, same way about the action also. No, we can only we don't have control on the outcome. Like how the Monsanto thing, how the 9/11, these are all directly only Gita could answer that. Because all the other things, why does God make bad things happen?
COVID.
Like like COVID, like that. So the whole world was engulfed by that. So, at least for COVID, nobody said why God makes this happen. Because for somehow for 9/11, people were preoccupied with because it was a little bit of a connotation of religion was involved in that. That's all. Anybody else has any question or any?
I just want to say thank you very much. It was a great opportunity for me to read with you. It was a privilege to me. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Atul, you were supposed to follow the verses sometime. When did you give up on that or what?
No, today I read it. Earlier I was supposed to do, but that night I have to go for a conference.
Yeah, but there are other nights. Maybe you should sign up for tomorrow or something if somebody else has not.
Sure. I'll work with Shilpaji.
Yeah. Okay, if there are no
Today,
other questions.
Atulji only followed what it is. So initially I asked Murali Krishna to do, but I didn't know Atul had signed up already. So today Atulji only followed.
So tomorrow it will be Atul?
I did today. I'm happy to do tomorrow also if nobody's signing up.
You did today?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
he did today.
Oh, you did good actually. I didn't think it was you.
Thank you.
Because I was looking, I could not tell exactly who was doing it. You have done, so no need to do. You are good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. There was no Gnana today, so I think.
There was
So,
some jnana.
so if that was there, I would have got it is Atul,
No, actually, I spoke jnanam instead of saying jnanam.
Okay, so we can. I'm glad you did today. Good. Because from where I was looking, I could not see exactly who were doing it.
Good.
Okay,
So we'll
let's
meet
wind it
tomorrow.
up. So, Hari, you have something to say here?
No, we'll meet tomorrow.
Yeah, okay.
Time.
सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् यतो कृष्ण ततो यतः कृष्ण ततो धर्मः यतो धर्मस्ततः कृष्णः यतः कृष्ण ततो जयः. Namaste. See you all tomorrow.